Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or The Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I am bringing you guys a 12-team half PPR mock draft from the 11th overall pick, as requested by one of my subscribers, whose name is Chris G. Thank you very much for subscribing, and thank you very much for commenting down below. The next mock draft will be for another subscriber that was also requested down below in the comments. If you guys would like to request a mock draft, make sure to leave it down below in the comments. Like I said, this is a 2020 half PPR mock draft, a 12-team from the 11th position. The roster spots are 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wideouts, a tight end flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots on fantasypros.com. If you want to mock draft, do it on there. If you want to use a different website, go ahead, because they do not sponsor me at all. So let's get right into the mock draft here. Now, this is a 12-team mock draft, and we are drafting very late in the first round. Like I said, the 11th pick, so it is going to be a bit different depending on where you draft. I personally prefer to draft towards the back end of the draft. I know that's personal preference. Some people may enjoy drafting in the middle or at the beginning. To me, every single year, I just prefer to draft towards the back of the draft, but that's just my personal opinion. Let me know down below in the comments where you guys prefer to pick. So the first pick of the draft was Run CMC, Christian McCaffrey, followed by Saquon Barkley, then Ezekiel Elliott, Michael Thomas, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, and Ron Jones. So notice, out of the first 10 picks off the board, only one player was a wide receiver. So the wide receiver value towards the back half of the draft is going to be immense this season. But to me, I'm not going to be taking a wide receiver here. I think I'm going to select a running back here. And to me, this is very, very clear to me who I would want here at the 11th position, and that is just Leonard Fournette here. I personally believe in him slightly more than Josh Jacobs or Austin Eckler. While I like all of those players, I think that Mr. Leonard Fournette is going to have a humongous season in 2020. Last season, if we can pull up his stats right here, in 2019, 15 total games, 265 attempts for 1,152 yards, 4.3 a carry, 76 receptions for 522 yards, and 3 total touchdowns. Those 3 total touchdowns are going to go up in 2020. There's no way he goes from scoring 10, 6, then to 3. There's no way it's going to be around 3. I project 5 plus for 2020. Now, he did implement a new part of his game in 2019. You could see from previous years, 36 receptions, 22 receptions. In 2019, I think he had more receptions than he had in his first 2 seasons combined. He had 76 total receptions, so he added that part to his game, which is even better for a half PPR type of league. So Leonard Fournette, to me, would be the selection right there. So after one with Leonard Fournette, DeAndre Hopkins, and Julio Jones did end up coming off the board here. So, to me, that is not too big of a deal here. I could either go running back or wide receiver. Typically, you're going to see people drafting at the back end of the draft go with the RB0 strategy, because typically towards the back end of the draft, you can go ahead and snag 2 great wide receivers back-to-back. That's what this guy did here. He went with DeAndre Hopkins and Julio Jones. Personally, I would have went with a different wide receiver there. If I would have went with DeAndre Hopkins, likely, and probably would have went with Tyreek or Devontae Adams. I like Julio Jones. I think Julio Jones is probably the most consistent wide receiver besides Michael Thomas in the NFL, but I think I would edge the other way and go with someone different here. Now, the thing is, do I want to go running back heavy here or go with a bit of a mix? And here, in 2020 so far, it has been a bit confusing of what to do. So this is a 12-team league, not the biggest type of league. 14 to me is like the biggest kind you can play in. So this is kind of like a normal league. So I think that here I would probably just lean, since the wide receiver value is so amazing here, and draft a wide receiver. Now the difference here is, do I go Devontae Adams or Tyreek the Freak Hill? That is a big question here for me. Do I want Tyreek, who does have some inconsistency but is always going to put up huge numbers and huge games, or would I rather go with a guy who, to me, I think is much more consistent in Devontae Adams? Sure, he only played in 12 games of 2019, 83 receptions on 127 targets, almost 1,000 yards in 12 total games, had 5 total touchdowns. He had over 10 touchdowns the last 3 seasons. So here I think I would lean with Devontae Adams and get a nice safety net here for my team. Now, I know in the comments you might be thinking, oh, Nick, you hate the Green Bay Packers. I know, I think the Green Bay Packers might be fraudulent. I think they may be run heavy, but when Devontae Adams is on the field, he is the main target on the team. If they go ahead and draft another wide receiver, I think that may even help Devontae Adams even more, because Devontae Adams was really the only wide receiver on the field when he was healthy. Geronimo Allison, MVS, Lazard are just a bunch of sorry-ass motherfuckers. Devontae Adams is the key to this team, and I love Devontae Adams here at the 2-0. So as we continue on to the draft, after we selected Devontae Adams, Chris Godwin came at the board, followed by Tyreek the Freak Hill, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Kenny Golladay, Austin Eckler, Josh Jacobs, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, me Timbers, Lamar Jackson, DJ Moore, Miles Sanders, Todd Gurley, Chris Carson, James Conner, Allen Robinson, Devontae Parker, Odell Beckham, Mark Andrews, Le'Veon Bell. So through 3 rounds, 3 total tight ends have been selected. Kelsey is my favorite tight end in the draft. He went first, then Kittle, then Mark Andrews. Lamar Jackson was the first quarterback selected at the 212. So I don't actually hate that. I do hate the move because personally it's something I would never do. Drafting Lamar Jackson in the first round is stupid. Drafting Lamar Jackson in the second round is stupid. It's pretty much the 301. Still don't really like it. In the fourth round is when I would start looking at quarterbacks, but he didn't do it in the first round. I know we're drafting against computers, but when typically in your at-home league, unless you're playing with a bunch of sharps, a bunch of guys who watch my videos or other YouTube videos, they're just going to be taking a quarterback in the first round, and then they're going to feel like a dumbass when their running backs and their wide receivers suck. So currently right here at our pick, but before I do that, I actually want to talk about some other picks here, actually. Austin Eckler in the middle of the second round is an amazing value. I think Austin Eckler is going to be tremendous this season. I love Josh Jacobs right after that as well. James Conner in the third is a bit too high for me. Same with Todd Gurley and Miles Sanders. I don't personally really like the guys, and that's why typically in my drafts you're going to see me go 2 running backs early so that I know the guys I have and I'm confident in them. But I'm fine with the team we got now. We got Devontae Adams and Leonard Fournette going into the third round here. We're going to make our selection, and we're going to wait a pick, and then we're going to pick again or wait 2 picks. So right here, the running backs still available. We got guys like Melvin Gordon, Mark Ingram, Kenyon Drake, and Devin Singletary. So it is important to figure out what we need to do here before we make our pick, because right now we have a running back and a wide receiver, but the team after us, who is going to be picking the next 2 picks, has picked 2 wide receivers. So if you want to get another running back, you should do it here. You got to look ahead in the draft, figure out what the other guys have. Now, this is going to be much easier if you're doing an in-person draft to see what type of guys have been selected off the board. It's kind of a bit more difficult on the computer, but with that said, you can still do it on every single website. So we're going to go with a running back here because I want to get the running back that I actually believe has the best value here. Melvin Gordon, Mark Ingram, Kenyon Drake are the best 3 running backs available as of fantasypros.com. To me here, I would lean Kenyon Drake. Now, I don't know where Melvin Gordon is going to be in 2020. If he moves off the Chargers, I would like him probably more. Mark Ingram, they're going to run the ball a lot. I'm just not sure they're going to always give it to Mark Ingram. I may be wrong. He scored a zillion touchdowns in 2020. I'm going to click on him so I can read how many touchdowns he scored in 2019, I should say. He scored 15 touchdowns. I highly doubt they're that efficient next season, so I'm going to lean Kenyon Drake. Personally, I think that Kenyon Drake is going to be the head honcho back in the Arizona Cardinals backfield. If you're watching this video in August or in July and he's not the starting back, then you go ahead and say this is the dumbest pick ever, because it probably is the dumbest pick ever. But right where we are sitting now, I think that the Kenyon Drake is going to be the starting back for the Arizona Cardinals, and he was an absolute beast when he was playing. Now, these stats don't really tell the tale because half of his games were in Miami, and then the other back end of his games were fucking destructive. 14 games, 170 carries, 817 yards, and 8 total touchdowns. I'm pretty sure every single touchdown was in Arizona. He was a beast on the field. I don't think he's very much of a pass-catching back. He may not be getting a lot. Oh, actually, he got 50 receptions, which is pretty good. I think Arizona will pass the ball to him a lot, so that's good, but I don't think he will be up there with 100 receptions or something crazy like a guy like Christian McCaffrey, but he has amazing value at the back half of the third round. I'm going to go with Kenyon Drake here. So after we selected Kenyon Drake, Keenan Allen came out the board, and Mark Ingram, which is honestly not what I expected. I expected this guy to go 2 running backs here, back-to-back Michael Jordan 96, 97, because at this pick, where he has, I wouldn't go with 3 wide receivers. You need to get the running backs, and the running back that comes back in the 5th round is going to be his RB2, is not going to be super hot, and that's something I typically avoid. I'm very much on the train of draft running backs early and often, but some people are not on that train. There's a bunch of wide receiver guys, which I understand that is definitely, that definitely has some value. So here we are going to go with probably a wide receiver here. Now, the best wide receiver still available as of Fantasy Pros. We got Cortland Sutton, A.J. Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Calvin Ridley. A lot of good talent still available on the board. But to me, there's a glaring best wide receiver available to me, and that's Cortland Sutton. I know a lot of people talk about how Cortland Sutton he's on the Denver Broncos. He's got horsecock Drew Lock throwing in the ball. I just think he's going to be amazing yet again in 2020. In 2019, he had quite the good season, and half those games were with Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders got out of there, and him and Drew Lock had an amazing connection. He did not finish as an amazing wide receiver last season, but he was playing great when he was on the field. He was on the field every game, but when he was on the field as the wide receiver 1 on the team, I doubt they draft another wide receiver. I think they play similar to how they played last year. I like Cortland Sutton in 2020. In 2019, he played in 16 games, 72 receptions on 124 targets, 1,112 total yards, and 6 total tutties. Great season from him, and I think he continues to emerge and be a great wide receiver in 2020. So that is who we are going to select here at the 4-2, and then we are going to wait until we get to pick again. So if you guys have enjoyed the video thus far, please make sure to click that subscribe button down below. After we selected Cortland Sutton off the board, Kerryon Johnson came off the board, followed by Melvin Gordon, Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Zach Ertz, Cooper Kupp, Pat Mahomes, Devin Singletary, A.J. Green, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyler Lockett, Adam Thielen, Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods, T.Y. Hilton, DJ Chark, Darren Waller, Marlon Mack, Julian Edelman, and Deshaun Watson. So Pat Mahomes in the 4th round is actually where I would look to get him if I was to draft him. Typically, you're not going to catch me dead with a wide receiver or a quarterback early in the drafts unless you're in a super flex league, which in case you need to do that. But this is a 1-quarterback league, so I think it's honestly worth it to just wait a bit before you pick them. So let's see here. None of the rookie running backs have been selected yet. I think a guy, if we can scroll down here, a guy like Dobbins, a guy like Taylor could go in the first couple of rounds of the draft. It would not surprise me depending on where they land. So I'm not going to be selecting a rookie running back yet in the draft because I'm not sure where they are going to end up going come draft season. Obviously, none have came off the board yet, so their ADP is not definite. I know in my last video, one of those running backs that was a rookie went in the 3rd, 4th round, so I think that's where we're going to be seeing some of these guys given they get a good landing spot in a place like Tampa Bay or the Miami Dolphins. Now, as we were sitting here, we got 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers, so we could pretty much go anywhere. Tight ends currently on the board right now. Only 5 have came off the board, so that's not too bad as we look down here. 5 have came off the board. The 5 that came off the board are Kittle, Kelsey, Ertz, Andrews, and Waller. Hooper's still on the board, but where does Cooper play in 2020? Will it be in Atlanta? Will it be in Green Bay? Who really knows? Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry. So we just typically punt the tight end position in these drafts. I am going to be doing a video where I take them earlier. Right here is where I'd look to get a running back, and I know a lot of people are going to have some heat with me. Nick, you can't draft David Montgomery. David Montgomery had a terrible rookie season. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever, man. David Montgomery to me showed he has that talent. I still personally believe in David Montgomery. You can go ahead in the comments and tell me why you don't like David Montgomery, but I still believe in him. Last season, this is about where he was being drafted, but a lot of people were super high on him. Now people are off of him. I think this is a great pick here in the 5th round. Actually, he was going much higher than the 5th round, I believe. He was going like the 3rd, 4th round in some drafts. So 5th round value for a guy who I think still shows talent in the NFL right here. 16 games in 2019, 242 carries, 889 rushing yards, 185 receiving yards on 25 receptions and 7 total touchdowns. Now, he's not a guy that's going to be catching the ball a million times, so obviously that is a negative for him. But I think at the end of the day, he's still going to finish solid in 2020. I'd much rather have him over a guy like Phillip Lindsay. So we're going to draft David Montgomery here, and then Sony Michel was selected, followed by Kyler Murray. Sony Michel, guys, do not draft him. Do not draft him. To me, he's on my do not draft list. I do not trust him. His knee is fucked. He didn't do anything last season, so I'd much rather target another running back here. Some solid wide receivers still left available, but I think when we draft yet again in the 7th round, there will still be some solid wide receiver talent that I like on my bench, so I'm going to draft yet another running back. I know that is kind of an unorthodox strategy to draft so many running backs, but that's just how I do it. So we're going to go with Kareem Hunt here. I know he may not be back in Cleveland. I think he will be. In 8 games in Cleveland, he had 179 rush yards, nothing to speak of, but he had 3 total touchdowns, 37 receptions, and 285 receiving yards. I think he's going to get a lot more use in the receiving game yet again in 2020, get a lot of spots out wide. He's going to produce in these games. I like Kareem Hunt here as a solid flex option if David Montgomery does not end up panning out here. He's definitely a very safe option to have on my bench. As we look down here, after we selected Kareem Hunt, DK Metcalf came off the board, followed by John Brown, Austin Hooper, Dak Prescott, Jameis Winston, Evan Ingram, Damian Williams, Terry McLaurin, Jarvis Landry, Phillip Lindsay, Michael Gallup, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Deebo Samuel, Matty Snapback, Stafford, Raheem Mostert, Devontae Freeman, Aaron Rodgers, Carson Wentz, Christian Kirk. Now, I'm going to continue to wait at the quarterback. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 already picked. I don't have one. I'm the only guy without one. But here I'm going to attack the wide receiver position. And to me, the best wide receiver available is Tyler Boyd. He's a guy that I'm going to be hitting on in every single draft throughout the offseason. Unless something miraculously changes and they don't draft Big Dick Joe Burrow, I think that Tyler Boyd is going to be an outstanding pick in 2020. He has done it with A.J. Green and done it without A.J. Green. With A.J. Green in 2018, he's had 14 games, 76 receptions, 108 targets, 1,000 plus yards, and 7 touchdowns. In 2019, without A.J. Green, 16 games, 90 receptions, 148 targets, over 1,000 yards again, and 5 total touchdowns. He's a beast. He did this with garbage quarterbacks. Andy Dalton's not garbage, but he did it with the other quarterbacks, Finley, some sorry-ass quarterbacks. So Tyler Boyd is going to be a for-sure option, a must-draft option for me late in drafts. I love my boy, Tyler. Yeah, Boyd. And a wide receiver 2, potentially a wide receiver 1 some weeks late in the draft. Sheesh, that's amazing. So we're going to draft Tyler Boyd here. After we went with Tyler Boyd, AB came off the board, followed by Darius Geis now. AB, I'm going to be honest with you. I think I'm going to make a video about this. I think AB plays in 2020, if I'm being honest with you. What team? No clue. You can figure that out, but I think he plays, and I think I worry about him. I don't know if I would ever take a shot on him, but I think people are going to take a shot on him. But I think the problem is once he gets onto a team, he's going to skyrocket off the draft board, and that's when I'm not going to touch him. In the 7th round, I would definitely touch AB, given he plays on a team. But he could obviously do something to fuck that up. Even if he's on a team, he could get cold feet again like he did with the Oakland Raiders, who are now the Las Vegas Raiders. He could just go ahead and fuck it up yet again like he did in New England. I don't know if he did what they say he did, if he paid the girl off. I don't know. I'm not some type of a lawyer. I can't figure that out. But I think he will end up playing in 2020. His cousin over here, Marquise Brown, still on the board. So through the 7th round, now into the 8th round, we got Leonard Fournette, Kenyon Drake, Devontae Adams, Cortland Sutton, David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt, Tyler Boyd. So in the 8th round here is when I'd look to get a quarterback before these other guys start drafting backup quarterbacks. So I'm going to lean the way of either Drew Brees or Matt Ryan here. Now, these guys are very close back-to-back in my rankings. Matt Ryan is a guy who's very on and off every single season. His off season could be quarterback 12. His on season could be quarterback number 1 in fantasy football. I think this will be his on season. He has been back and forth every single season. Last year he was off. This year I think he's going to be on, but I would go with Drew Brees here. Personally, I think he is much safer. Drew Brees is a guy just like Matt Ryan, who's never going to run the ball really, but he's a guy that's going to be putting up solid numbers. And late in the draft, this is amazing value for a guy like Drew Brees. After we went with Drew Brees, Ronald Jones came off the board, followed by James White, David Johnson, Carlos Hyde, Jordan Howard, Mike Williams, Hollywood Brown, Robbie Anderson, Rolls-Royce Freeman, Sterling Shepard, Alshon Jeffrey, Anthony Miller, Marvin Jones, Slayton Tate, Williams, Tariq Cohen, Alexander Madison, Duke Johnson, Will Fuller. So a huge wide receiver run went late here in the draft. And there's still a lot of tight ends still available. Only a couple tight ends still have been selected. Only 7. Typically in your at-home league, you're going to see these tight ends fly off the board. Same thing with quarterbacks because people just get nervous. They don't fill up their bench. They're just a bunch of pussies. You don't want to be a pussy. You draft these guys that you like late in the draft. Currently, we have 4 running backs and 3 wide receivers. So here we're going to get yet another wide receiver and then take a bunch of tickets at our running backs later in the draft. Some guys I still like here. Brandon Cooks, though his injury concerns are immense. And Preston Williams, Jamison Crowder, Deontay Johnson I like. But I'm going to go with my guy, Preston Williams. I take him in all these videos super late in the draft. I want to make you guys know that Preston Williams is going to be a talent in 2020. He broke out in 2019 in his rookie season, but he's going to be even better back-to-back in 2020. He only played in 8 games because he tore his ACL. Now, that is a concern. He has torn his ACL twice. I'm not sure if it's both legs or just the same one. Either way, not ideal. 8 games of 2019, 32 receptions, 60 targets, 428 yards, and 3 total touchdowns. Now, I think the Dolphins are better in 2020. They were pretty okay last season. I think they're probably similar, if not a bit better. Ryan Fitzmagic is going to be the quarterback yet again, so I see no reason why Preston Williams cannot perform yet again in 2020. So after Preston Williams, Tevin Coleman came at the board, followed by O.J. Howard. So now we're in the 10th round is where I'm going to just throw my pick at a tight end here. Every video, I'll probably end up picking a different tight end. Hunter Henry still available. Will he be a LA Charger in 2020? I am not sure. If he is, I like him because there's likely going to be a rookie quarterback there at the helm in LA in 2020. It could be Love, could be Herbert, won't be Tua. Probably one of those guys. So I like Hunter Henry here late in the draft here. Now, after we selected Hunter Henry, it is going to be a while for our pick yet again. But after we went with Hunter Henry, Cooks came with the board, followed by Emmanuel Sanders, Curtis Samuel, Deontay Johnson, Deshaun Jackson, Latavius Murray, John Ross, the Sauce Boss, Tony Pollard, Justin Jackson, Jamison Crowder, Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman, N'Keal Harry, Dallas Goedert, Rashad Perryman, who could end up in a solid situation somewhere else, Adrian beat his son, Matt Breida, Justice Hill, Rashad Penny, and Corey Davis. So we're not going to draft a backup tight end or a backup quarterback, guys, in a 12-team league. In a 14-team league, I advise you to draft a backup quarterback, but not in a 12-team league. You can still find a guy late, or not even late. You can just find a guy that you can pick up off the waiver wire that is going to be great. Don't draft a kicker or a defense until the last 2 picks, if not the last 3 picks of the draft if you're a bit crazy. So here In the 11th round is where I like to pick another one of the guys that I want to leave every single draft with, and that is a running back, and that is Darrell Henderson. Darrell Henderson, to me, he didn't do shit in 2020 or 2019. I'd be worried about him in 2020. I am worried about him a bit because they still have Malcolm Brown there and Todd Gurley, but I think Todd Gurley, he's just washed up, and one of these weeks he's just going to get hurt, and it's going to be a career for him. His knee is fucked up permanently. I like Darrell Henderson here late in drafts. I know he ended up getting hurt, did not finish the season, but I still like him here late in drafts. At the 11-12, Kalen Ballage was picked, and at the 12-01, Noah Fant came off the board. Still 2 picks left in the draft, so we're going to attack a running back here and then a wide receiver likely later, or a wide receiver and then a running back. So I'm going to draft a safety valve here late in the draft, and that is Cole Beasley. Now, if the Buffalo Bills go out there and draft a wide receiver late in the draft in 2020, throw Cole Beasley out of there. Throw John Brown likely out of there. I don't know if I want any of them, but as of now, I would go Cole Beasley. He has been a safety valve in 2019. He played in 15 games, 67 receptions on 106 targets, 778 yards, and 6 total touchdowns. He didn't finish super high in 2020 at the wide receiver position, but he was a guy that was very safe every single week, getting you like 10 points a game. So that's what I like in my wide receivers late in the draft. I'm going to take a nice safety valve in my boy Cole Beasley. Honestly, if I did not take Cole Beasley and I wanted to go with a more risky type of guy, I probably would have selected Hunter Renfrow or Tyrell Williams. So Cole Beasley came off the board, followed by Jared Cook, Matty Ice, Tyler Higbee, TJ Hawkingod, Ryan Tannehill, Mike Licky on my Gasicki on Naheem Hines, Cam Newton, Baker Mayfield, Will Disley, Peyton fucking Baba, Raquel Armstead, Chase Edmonds, Boston Scott, LaShawn McCoy is probably not going to be in the league in 2020, D.D. Westbrook, Kirk Cousins, Danny Dimes, the Patriots defense, and Lamar Miller. Now, late in the draft, we just go ahead and we sling a pick at a running back here. We just throw it at the wall. We say, Kobe, and you just throw a pick at the wall. You hope it hits. Obviously, closer to draft season, I'm going to have a bunch of sleepers that I like late at the running back position. Likely going to be a guy that I like is going to be Cam Akers, rookie running back. But no one has taken a rookie in this draft, so I'm just going to go ahead and say fuck it and not draft one. So we're going to go ahead and get a handcuff that I like. He's down to my team, but it's DeAndre Washington. If Josh Jacobs ends up getting hurt, he's a guy that I love. He put up points last season while Josh Jacobs was hurt. So Big Ben was selected, and then the Chicago Bears. So now you're going to pick a kicker, and then you're going to pick a defense after that. So I'm going to go with a kicker, and then I'm going to explain to you how to pick a defense. I'm going to go with Harrison Bucker God. Likely this guy's not going to be available late in drafts because someone's just going to inevitably draft a kicker in the 10th round because people are crazy like that. They fill out their starting roster, and then they go kicker. So notable players that went: Tyrell Williams. Besides that, a bunch of kickers and defenses. So now I'm going to explain to you how to pick a defense. You go on Google, okay? You type in NFL schedule week 1. Once the schedule comes out next month, you figure that out. You pick a defense. That way, you find a defense that's playing a shit offense week 1, and then you play them. And then week 2, if they're playing a good opponent, cut them. Pick a new one up. I'm going to make videos about this every week. It's going to be very easy for you to pick up a defense or a kicker. So we're going to go with the New York Football Jets here. So we got a B- on this team. Doesn't matter to me. We've gotten an A on the last couple of ones. In my mind, we got an A+. So our roster is comprised of Drew Brees at the starting quarterback. Our 2 running backs are Leonard Fournette and Kenyon Drake. We got Devontae Adams and Colton Sutton as our starting wide receivers. Our tight end is Hunter Henry. Our flex is David Montgomery. Our kicker and defense don't matter. We got Kareem Hunt, Tyler, Boyd, Preston Williams, Darrell Henderson, Cole Beasley, and DeAndre Washington. So thank you guys all for watching this video. If you ended up enjoying, please click that subscribe button down below. Click on one of the videos that's on your screen that I'm pointing to. I love each and every single one of you motherfuckers. Make sure to have a blessed rest of your Sunday. Come back on Monday for yet another video. I love you all. Goodbye, my friend.